thank you guys for coming. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker. And Shane Hazel, you may know him. He spoke before. He ran for governor on a Libertarian ticket. And so
Came in third.
So does prepping and gardening and is a Bitcoin expert and knows about this government crypto thing. And last month, thank you for everybody that came in. I'm sorry you didn't get to see him, but you did at least get to hear Rob Wilson, who I told him a really good talk. Shane had a tree fall on his chicken coop, and I guess his chickens were running around, and he had to save them from the coyotes and bears. So that's why at the last minute he didn't come last month. But you know what? The great thing is all you guys get to hear business. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Shane.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to talk.
Shane,
Yeah. Thank you. You guys hear me just fine?
yes.
What?
Is anybody in here a woodworker? Do you guys know about this amazing store we got? Rockford? Yeah. Holy cow. If you got somebody in your life that's a woodworker, take them over to that store because that store is a little slice of heaven. I'm going to move so we're here to talk about Bitcoin tonight. And I appreciate this so much. You have no idea. Carla called me up and said, hey, Shane, you want to drive down to Atlanta and sit in traffic at a rush hour? And I was like, yes! I get to talk about Bitcoin! It's a weird thing to be excited about, I know, right? Like, to want to come down and do this kind of stuff. But literally, this is what my passion is. You guys know that I've run Libertarian, I've run Republican in the past, House, Senate, Governor, you name it. I've got a couple shows. We're about to start a new show called Bitcoin Veterans. Just done a load of work in the Austrian economic field, now the Bitcoin space, and seeing this emerge it's lit a fire under me to a point where I am more excited about Bitcoin than I was finding out about libertarians or finding out about, I don't know, whatever it was my last hobby was. This is the most potent force, right hand of God weapon for tyranny, and it's peaceful. It is something that I think has lit a fire under so many different people from so many different walks of life. I've talked about how I've met, down at the Bitcoin conference the past few years, people that were left-wing, people that were right-wing, people that were Silicon Valley, people that are ranchers, people that are Canadians that were truckers that had to put up with everything they did last year where they came together as a community in downtown Ontario and started sharing with each other once they froze their bank accounts how to use Bitcoin to buy gas, to keep the lights on, to keep their children warm, to keep the protests going when the government got completely out of control. People are doing amazing things like going over into African countries, setting up hydroelectric power, putting in Starlink, and now providing electricity to a village and capturing energy and value in a stranded place and exporting it to the rest of the world. This is hope. This is pure energy and time captured perfectly, and we have not had anything like this in human history. So there is some hard stuff to get through. There is some extremely long hours in terms of learning this. We're not going to just get through it tonight. You're going to go like, oh, let's go buy Bitcoin. We're going to show you some problems. Anybody have that great friend that will tell them everything that they didn't want to hear? Those friends are priceless. Those family members are priceless. It will tell you the absolute hard truth when you know you don't want to hear it, but you know you need to hear it. And you may hate them for a minute. So hopefully by the end of this, we come back to being like friends, right? Like we're going to go through some really hard stuff, but then we're going to get to a point where, hey, we're also going to provide you a solution. A solution that you can unite with. I mean, any of you guys miss family, friends, because you've been torn apart for silly reasons over the years?
Like wearing a mask?
Yeah, getting shot. That's the Christian response. When we talk about a piece of code that has been written for the human species and given away free. This is something that's super powerful for all of us. And it will unite people. It's already doing it. So let's get started. So the hard stuff. Do we have some problems in America? A few, right? Let's just quickly off the top of our head. We got a banking crisis on our hands, right? Banks are really, really short liquidity right now. That's why you're seeing the spiral in the bank boom. You've got controlled politicians. Fiat politicians create fiat governments, create fiat banking cabals and central banks and crazy fiat currency, and that feeds an entire world through an infection that drives everything in the world to a very, very insidious and perverse place. You've got rogue bureaucracies. Has it ever been clearer that the CIA, the FBI, the ATF, those organizations don't actually work for us? It's never been clearer. We've got a billionaire pedo ring where one person at the head of it's dead, JP Morgan, who financed the whole thing, out $280 million with NDAs and cover-ups and everything else yesterday, or 2 days ago. And on top of it, you've got Ghislaine Maxwell, who's sitting in prison for child trafficking, and we have no idea who those people are.
Right.
Crazy. Never-ending war. We just keep doing it. Like when I was a young man, I ran off, joined the Marine Corps Special Operations. Saw the beginning of the war in Kuwait, saw Najaf, Fallujah a year later, and said, you know what, I've seen enough. This continues to happen. Taliban, how much money did we give those? How much armor did we give those guys? What are we doing in Ukraine right now? We're arming Nazis. Literally arming Nazis in Ukraine. It's crazy. Censorship. Unbridled censorship at this point. We've all seen these exposed with Twitter. We've seen how this has come about, time and time and time again. It gets worse and worse and worse, and thank God we have that little bit for town square free speech. Rigged elections. I can tell you who's been behind the scenes, I know very well how rigged elections and the entire voting system is in America. We've got state propaganda that's absolutely out of control. The good thing is it's dying. We've got cultural decay. I mean, has anybody been to Target lately? No. Anybody students around Target? What in the world? I mean, us guys as fathers, this is it. Like, this is where you have to put your foot down. The inflation tax, hidden tax, whatever you want to call it, it's robbing each and every person in this room and in the future, generations from now. It's crazy. Zero justice in America. Zero. We've got prisons that are full of nonviolent criminals, and we've got a political class or a plutocracy that never, ever, ever sees the inside of a cage, or the end of a rope, or anything else. Loss of natural rights. I mean, I don't know if you guys are keeping up with what the ATF is doing these days, but they're actually going after guys for a pistol brace that once was legal, just by definition. ESG policy, anybody know what ESG is? Environmental, social, government, right? It's the whole Green New Deal. 200-something trillion projected for the Green New Deal overall. And we have an imminent CBDC, which is total, absolute control over every aspect of your life.
You mean central bank digital currency?
Thank you. Take a sip of water. I think this is pretty clear in America these days. I think this is a starter list for what the bigger picture is. So what do we do?
We come to agents of truth.
Hey, there's a nice colleague, I like that. We need to figure out, first of all, what is money? What is money? When you really ask yourself, do you know the difference between money and currency?
Yes.
You do. Does everybody in here know the difference?
No.
Money is
There's no
something.
water, a bottle of water is worth a lot.
Sometimes, if you're in the desert, you're
You're in
dying,
the desert,
right?
yeah. Scarcity is the most wanted commodity.
A medium of exchange. There's a difference between currency and money. Currency is just your dollar bill. It doesn't actually have really any function at all. Nothing. It's backed by zero. And the petrodollar is getting weaker every day because we're taking, what, less countries on the dollar standard. The world
Apparently we just lost Africa.
Yeah, today. Africa, lots of African countries were like, we're done with the dollar today. They're going to be all part of BRICS very soon. BRICS, you guys know about BRICS? BRICS is the commodity-based proposed economy, and it's got over 3 billion people in it now versus what the Federal Reserve does, which is only about 700 million. Think about that as everything starts to shift. So can currency and money be the same thing? Yes, they can, but can currency ever be money? No. It's always going to be fiat, all right? Medium of exchange. How do I know what that is? Can I trust you? Because I don't know you, and maybe I don't want everything that you produce. You don't want everything I produce, so we've got to come up with some way to trade. This is our medium of exchange. A store of time and value. What do you trade your life for? You trade your life for money. You literally sign a piece of paper sometimes with an employer, or you've got your own business, or if you're lucky enough, you're retired and you're sitting on something, right? Store of time and value. If you're trading your life and energy for a set number of dollars every year, hopefully it keeps its time and energy stored perfectly. We know that's not true in this because we got inflation, right? Inflation zaps your currency. We're going to talk about that a lot. It's a communications protocol. Anybody think about money as a communications protocol? You guys know what TCP/IP is? Yeah. TCP/IP is just computer code, zeros and ones. It's binary code from here to there. It sends packets from one computer to another computer and says, this is what it is. Right? Communications protocol. Is that what money is? Sure it is. It tells us how we have to interact with each other, for the most part. It's a little loose these days because we're still dealing with an analog currency. But if I give you $1 in exchange for an apple, then I get an apple and you get $1, we're cool. Yeah? Problem is that's not how it works. That dollar is debt, and they've made debt an asset in this economy. Debt is an asset? That's crazy talk. At least before 1971 it was. Debt is not an asset. Debt is a liability. It should always be a liability. Communications protocol, if we've got a third party involved in every one of our transactions, that's counterfeit. That is an infection in the purity of the market. That's not capitalism. That's what we have. We have a centrally controlled economy. Anybody whoever here's like, well, that's what you get with capitalism, from all the retards that don't know anything about economics, right? You haven't lived in a free market economy in America probably since before 1913, and maybe a little bit in between, a little bit here and there, not pure, right? You've had a centrally controlled economy since the Federal Reserve in 1913. That is not capitalism. It is not the economy. It's not trickle down, trickle up, any of that other stuff that they try to bring. Communications protocol is super important here. It's technology, right? Have you guys seen how money has evolved over the eons and eons? It started out with rye stones out in the Easter Islands, right? Had these big giant polished stones, holes in them, couldn't move them very far, couldn't do much with them, but you couldn't replicate them. Everybody just kind of could IOU. Hey, who's got the rye stone today? Who's got this? What's it worth? Until Westerners came in and said, hey, we can make some rye stones. We can make bigger ones than that. We can make lots more than that because we have all the technology to make these things without these people. What did they do? They did it. They debased an economy. The economy crashed there. Lots of people died, starvation and everything else. Those people got taken advantage of, put in debt. The cycle repeats over and over and over through U.S. history. You look at what happened in the Roman Empire. They started shaving coins, and they started taking coins and putting it into, different types of metals. That was counterfeiting. That was debasing a currency. Technology improved over time. What did they start doing with the coins? They started putting riches on them. They started putting watermarks in them. They started doing all these kind of things, right? To try to prevent the people who were the money manipulators from doing anything with it. Unfortunately, right now, we're still dealing with an analog type of technology for our communications protocol. That's what we're going to get to. Important quote, Buckminster Fuller, really cool. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. You change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. lot easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
We have an entirely broken system, right? Like, I don't know if anybody in here would agree or not, but like, I don't think this central system, DC, is salvageable. There's no reformation that's going to happen. It doesn't matter if Republicans get in, it doesn't matter if Democrats get in, it doesn't matter if Libertarians get in, it does not matter. What are you gonna do with DC? You're gonna burn it to the ground? You're gonna nuke it? That might be the best thing for it. I hate to say that, but like, literally, they are a bastion of evil, thieving, and mass murdering, manipulating, terrible, terrible people that I call the murder cult, right? They go around the world making war on anybody they want to make war on, and what's the result? They just keep going, keep going, keep going. Iraq, Syria, what, we were up in the Kurdish areas, we were probing around in Iran, we've been all over Africa. In my lifetime alone, we're over in Afghanistan, then out, giving everybody, billions of dollars worth of armaments. Now we're over in Ukraine. We're all over Europe. We have almost 190 bases around the world. You think you're going to fix that? No way. You have to burn this thing out, one way or another, peacefully, or the old-fashioned way. Definitely prefer the first one. A lot more peaceful. So what are we going to do? The cool thing is, people have already started building this absolute amazing technology that is going to be put in application for more and more and more on top of layer, on top of layer, on top of layer, just like they did with the internet. Only this fixes the internet too. It's amazing. So what is Bitcoin? So decentralized digital deflationary cash. That is a mouthful. Can you imagine if your cash in your pocket right now is just earning wealth, earning money, earning power, earning the ability to buy more and more? Hi.
Sorry.
That's quite all right. Can you imagine deflationary money? What a game changer. Not only does it store your time and effort perfectly, it stores it better than perfect. What you're contributing to this world, if you have skin in the game, you are going to get paid, but you are also going to earn as you save. That is the opposite of what we do now. Total opposite. Digital. We're not talking about analog. Digital, and not only is it digital, it's the first digitally scarce asset in the world. It is the first really scarce asset in the entire universe. I'm going to say that again. This is the first digitally scarce asset in the entire universe. You can't make more of it. You can't go down to the ground and get more of it. You can't pull it out of the sky. You can't pull it off of meteors. You can't do any of that kind of stuff. You can't go through wormholes and bring more of it back. It's scarce. There's 21 million forever. That's it.
That's it, right?
Period.
We're not gonna
You
get
never change. You can't change it. Why? Because it's also decentralized. There's no leaders. There is nobody to come and say, hey, somebody's being, somebody's wrong in space. No, it's just figured out by code. There's a literal digital constitution that's open source code that everybody has to play by the same rules.
Is that like NFT?
No, God, no. We're going to get to that in just a second. And I don't mean that that way. Sorry. It was very knee-jerk reaction on my part because I don't like people getting ripped off. All right, like that is business. We are not here to promote what we call shitcoins in the Bitcoin universe, right? And I'm sorry if that's offensive, but that's what we call everything that's not Bitcoin. All right, it's a shitcoin. It doesn't matter if it's Joe Biden on a stage or whatever, right? Like this it's shitcoin.
It's Chinese owned.
It's cash. So although transactions are tracked on a blockchain, if you are not a known customer, KYC, know your customer, very important piece of knowledge in this. If you are non-KYC, so you have not given up your personal information to store Bitcoin on a cold wallet, they have no idea who has that Bitcoin and who you're spending it with. Okay? That's why it's cash, because you can go peer to peer to peer without a third party, a third partner, a trust, right? This is trustless because there's code backing it up, and it happens every 10 minutes on the blockchain. So every 10 minutes, every transaction in Bitcoin gets stored in a block. And you can see all the little blocks, all the information, how much the transaction was, the sending party, the to party, how much they paid in terms of sending fees for processing. That's all there. But it doesn't come with any of your information if you don't want it to. Verified peer-to-peer proof of work. Proof of work. How many guys have heard of proof of work versus proof of stake? Anybody heard proof of stake? Oh yeah, proof of stake. You're dealing with a dollar, right? Oh, proof of stake, yeah, we've got dollars. Well, how do I know you got dollars? You're not backing them up with gold anymore. What is that? What kind of value is it? That's every NFT. That's every, well, it's almost every crypto, all right? Almost every one of them, proof of stake. Not decentralized. Somebody is there, they've got an entire group, or they've got one guy who says, hey, I got some Shane coin here. You want to buy some of it? Cool. How much you want? That's proof of stake. Well, that's all I have to do. Just say, hey, look, I'm going to name a coin after something stupid, and I'm going to issue this many of them, and there's nobody to control it. So if I want to up the amount of that tomorrow, I can do that, or I can tell all my buddies who bought it to pump it up real quick, create some hype, and then rug it, which means pull all of our money out as a group and let these poor bastards fund what we're doing. That's what happens in most crypto. What else says that's downline? Sounds like banks.
Yeah.
Sounds like 1929. It sounds like what's happening with Lehman Brothers in 2008. Sounds like what happened across the board. Come in, come in. Welcome. There's a chair there. This is what's called rugging in Bitcoin. If it's not Bitcoin, most assuredly you might get rugged. All right. They're going to take their money whenever they can. They're going to invent some manipulative scheme, and they're going to be like, peace out, thanks for the money. We're going to go enjoy our Lamborghinis and breasted planes. That's what those guys do all the time. There's also nobody for remittance. Anybody that's not familiar with the term remittance, remittance is the clearinghouse. So if you're going overseas, let's say I want to send some money to somebody in Guatemala or Africa somewhere, right? Nobody is getting in between that. Western Union, not, the bank isn't. It's going straight to the person that I want that money to go to, and I don't have to pay a fee for it other than that small transaction fee on the blockchain. It's got a positive incentive structure for rules and rules without rulers, right? This is why Bitcoin is not a security, it's a commodity. It's why they can't put it under the SEC. It's why they can't touch anything, because there's nobody they're going to touch. This positive incentive structure, if you try to pull off what's called a double spend, a fraudulent spend in Bitcoin, you know exactly what's going to happen to you? First of all, you're going to go broke, because it would cost you literally trillions and trillions of dollars to set up the apparatus, the mining pools, and everything else to mine Bitcoin, and then to spend, get a double spend, and then the entire network is going to go, that's a bad actor. The entire network, because what are they doing? They're defending what they've paid into, what their value is. So if somebody's going to corrupt that, the entire network is going to go, boom, that guy right there. How many times has the Federal Reserve ever been audited?
Zero.
Zero. Bitcoin is audited every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes. That's the positive incentive structure. That's what the power of the people is. Your power to keep those bad actors in check right then, right there. It's unconfiscatable money. The first rule of Bitcoin, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. What does that mean? That means if you haven't taken your Bitcoin off of whatever exchange you bought it through or mined it from and put it onto a cold storage wallet where you hold 12 or 24 seed words, which are your keys, then you don't actually own your Bitcoin. I'm going to say it one more time. If you pull your money off, your Bitcoin off, and put it into a cold, secure wallet that doesn't touch the internet, There is no way in hell anybody can ever take your Bitcoin. Do you know what the ramifications of that are? Your government and the people that are supposed to serve you now have to serve you to get money. They have to come to you with their hand out and be like, hey, we've got this initiative going on over here. We would really like to be funded by you guys. What does that do? It changes the behavior. It actually gets those guys doing something that we actually want them to do. You want to talk about, quote unquote, like a direct democracy. Go try to do something like go to war with somebody that's really unpopular and get money from the people who have their own money to say, no, no thanks. I don't think I want to fund your war. No, I don't think I want to fund this initiative that you have for putting masks on every kid. No, I don't think I want to fund these government indoctrination centers. This changes our relationship with the state, the monopoly on force that invades your life on every aspect they can. It's open source. There's a white paper, and I think it's 300 words, maybe 2,300 lines of code. Jack Dorsey, the guy that created Twitter and is doing some other things in the space, called it maybe the most seminal piece of work for the human species ever. That is an incredible statement from a guy that knows what code is. It can be checked every minute. And it's an unstoppable weapon for freedom. This might be the coolest thing about Bitcoin. This is why we have put together a Bitcoin's Veterans Group, because a lot of us have lacked mission. We've lacked purpose. We've seen what the cabal has become. The fact that we fought or served has been one of those things that has been a diminished aspect of our lives. We didn't serve America. We're not freer. We have less rights now than we ever had. Our money's crap. We've done terrible things in other countries. Why did we do it? We did it for quote unquote American interest, right? What's American interest? Well,
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of interest is just, like, hey, what do you guys want to go do? What do we need to prop up our economy? Do we need oil? Do we need lithium? Do we need coal? Do we need whatever from these poor people on the other side of the earth? Okay, cool. Let's go villainize those guys. Let's take a bunch of dudes over there, kick some ass, and then take whatever we want. That is a rough thing for us, right? To come to that realization after you did some terrible stuff, that sucks. That is a hairy, hairy pill. This is the new mission. This is patriotism. This is love for your fellow man. This is love for your family. This is love for yourself. To be that person that's sovereign, that can't be confiscated or muted or do whatever you desire to do with whoever you desire to do it. This is real freedom. Once you start to see the layers of this and how many different rabbit holes, it literally touches every aspect of your life. Literally. There isn't a subject group or anything else out there that I haven't found that's related to this. Somebody's got a niche in this. Good news is, it's early. You guys remember like 1994, 1995, right before? Some people are like, no. I had kids too, and like you start to repress memories at some point. 1994, 1995, we were on the verge of AOL, right? If you could go back to 1994, 1995, what would you do? Probably buy some stock in AOL, maybe Yahoo, a couple of these other organizations, right? Google, yeah. You start to invest. Right now, you are at 1994 Bitcoin. 2% of the people in the world, maybe 1 to 3, okay, 2% are Bitcoiners. And really know it, are convicted. Not messing around with crypto, shitcoins, all that other stuff. They're just doing this, right? Just Bitcoin. 2%. That's an incredible time to be alive. All right. This is the perception in the world. This is what they want you to think. This is what the agencies want you to think. This is what the SEC wants you to think. This is what the Federal Reserve wants you to think. This is what the Department of Defense wants you to think. They want you to think that Bitcoin is crypto. And it is absolutely not. Fiat and crypto are in the same space in Bitcoin is its own standalone entity. Absolutely 100% untouched. They cannot coexist. Because what happens? What is it? I'm trying to think of the law off my head. Is it Gresham's law? Gresham's law. Value is going to find the hardest currency possible, the hardest money possible, the hardest assets possible.
What is that called? Say again.
Gresham's law. I think.
Somebody Google it.
Please do. If I'm wrong, please yell it out. This is how we have to help other people change their perception of what's really going on in the economic space. All right, problems with currency. We're here, but a little bit further. The dollar's lost 99% of its value since the inception of the Federal Reserve in 1913. So, if you had $100 back in 1913, a little over 100 years from now, what do you got left? You got a buck, maybe. A buck. If that's not the most criminal depiction of what they've done in terms of robbing people, it gets worse. It's way worse than this. Way worse. Because this is something that, in terms of like numbers, humans have a really, really hard time conceptually with what they've done to that amount of wealth. 99% of the wealth in the world has been redistributed from the people that have skin in the game to the connected, the plutocrats, the people that will take policy, that will do favors, that are being blackmailed for being perverts on the internet. This, 99%. To put this in some terms where we can start to comprehend this as just mere mortals, right? Anybody seen this? If you did a time to a dollar kind of equalization, this is a really fun exercise. I say fun, you guys are like, hey, that's really depressing. $1, if $1 equals 1 second, then 1 million seconds equals 11 days. What's the guess for 1 billion seconds? Anybody got a guess? Yeah, years. You got it?
50 years.
31 years. You start to see the order of magnitude change really quick, right? What is 1 trillion seconds?
150 million years or something?
Yeah. It's 31,710 years. 31,000. We went from 1 million seconds in 11 days to 31,000 years. Anybody want to do some math? It's really good. What is 8 trillion seconds? It's 253,000 years. That's what they did to the money supply in the past 2 years. $8 trillion, 253,000 years worth of money. That is astronomical. If nobody's talking about hyperinflation yet, it's because they're not being honest with you yet. The order of magnitude of the addition of this kind of money to the money supply is literal hyperinflation. It can be defined no other way. Sentiment just hasn't caught up yet. And it's gonna, and it's gonna hurt. Since 1913, manufactured goods are 20 times more expensive in the United States. And that might be old news as of today. I don't know. Against gold.
In terms of commodity or currency, sorry?
Sorry?
They're more expensive in terms of commodities to
Yeah.
produce or currency to...
What you're spending on it, yeah. Purchase. Yeah, purchasing power. Against gold, the dollar has collapsed 99%. Against the S&P, it's collapsed 99.8%. Here's something really harrowing. Do you know how much other fiat currencies is collapsed against the collapsing 99.9% dollar? In some countries, up to 92%. A different country like Argentina, somewhere in some tiny economy in Africa that got off it today, we have destroyed 99% of their economy after destroying 99.9% of our economy. Do you realize when the debt comes due for those nations who are funded through the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, what happens there? When they can't pay back their debt to the loans that they have restructured, and they can't get restructured anymore because what can they not do? They can't raise interest anymore. We're stuck, right? What was the verdict today? Did anybody see the Fed verdict today? Was it pause?
Zero.
Right.
Till next month.
Right. And then now, you know, until next month, what do they want to do? They want to bring it down. What are they doing? They're printing money, quantitative infinity, to the moon, and at the same time, they're raising interest rates for the past, 6 months. Never done. They have no idea how to stop what's going on. And here's the thing. They can't. They can't. 99% of people will never, ever, ever, ever outwork what they are doing to currency. 99.9% of businesses will never be able to outperform what they're doing to currency. If you pick that 1%, you were lucky. And the S&P, the stock market, those 500 companies that are just absolutely ripping, but still down against Bitcoin. This is catastrophic. The fiat banking system that we have right now, Janet Yellen, the Treasury, the rest of those dorks up there in the FCO or FOC and whatever.
FOMC.
Thank you. They will never, ever get this right because they can't afford to. Because as soon as the wheels come off this thing, they're done.
No, I have
People
not.
get out the guillotines. That's why they get on board. It's true.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When was the first, QE $1 trillion?
Quantitative easing?
When was the first time over $1 trillion was injected at one time?
What did we do back in, we did 700 billion for TARP. Somewhere a little bit after that, I think Obama maybe did what, 1.2, 1.3, something like that. And then in 2020, 2021, and 2022, over $8 trillion. That's a great thing. 1/3 of the debt of this country was spent in those 3 years. That's
Under the Obama administration, is that correct?
No, under Trump, under the Republicans.
Up there.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing is, it doesn't matter. They're all the same team. They're all the same team. They're all funded by the same money. If there's anything that politics has taught me, is if you are that person that's going to take the ESG votes, that are going to take the abortion votes, that are going to take whatever societal decay culture code votes for them, you're never going to get money. Why do you think, Greta Thunberg and Al Gore and the rest of these people have money? It's because they are the mouthpieces of these people that need you to believe that you need to use less energy because they don't have the purchasing power to go over to the Middle East anymore and buy energy. Let's talk about deflationary money because I think this room needs a pickup a little bit. All right. This is Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin was created, it started at a pretty high inflation rate, right? Like there was only ever going to be 21 million, but those 21 million coins had to be mined. So in the beginning, we're mining lots of coins. Then every 4 years, called an epoch or a halving, we come down, boom, half, boom, half. Every time we have a halving, every 4 years, the amount of reward that comes from mining a block every 10 minutes is cut in half. What does that do to supply? Makes it more valuable, right? It's cut supply, rare, now we have a more valuable commodity.
Next year.
What's really interesting is we're coming up into the fifth halving. What's special about the fifth halving? What is the what is the inflation rate of gold?
3%.
Roughly, right? Depending on demand. Yeah. So 3%. This halving coming up, we're going to be less in gold for the first time ever. So now the mining subsidy is going to go to about a 1.2 buy, making us more scarce in the production of gold. And then another 4 years from that, it's going to drop again in half. So, yeah, we've already said that, already said half Bitcoin 2024. So, April 2024, the next halving. It's coming up, faster than you know. Now's a good time. I'm just saying, this isn't. This isn't financial advice. It's just education. I have to say that as a disclaimer, right? But prior to 2024, oh man, might be a really, really good time. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. To have a little bit of Bitcoin. Bitcoin versus everything. It's pretty braggadocious, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's not even a group of people that's like associated with this as leaders. At 7 to 8% inflation, the US dollar has a half-life of 10 years. That means that whatever you earn today, 10 years is going to be worth half of that. And at the rate they're going, especially with the interest that we're paying on debt, it's probably going to be more aggressive, right? This is the frequency of money. So the frequency of gold, 2 to 3% inflation. Gold has a half-life of about 35 years. What? That's something that we don't think about a lot. Gold's great. Gold was an amazing currency for a long time. Problem with gold. What is it?
Mineral.
Super heavy, right?
Yeah.
You gotta take it out of the ground, you
Hard to
gotta,
take them in
It's hard to buy a
airplane.
car.
you gotta destroy the environment to get any of it,
Yes.
right? You got to, you gotta be able to protect it, you got a lot of it.
Right.
It's not fast, so it can't fund the world economy in today's digital age. It can't say, hey, right? And guess what? Somebody who's keen on violence, like the state, has guns and badges and said, hey, it's lawful for us to come take your gold. Like they did in what, 1941 under Roosevelt?
Yep.
6102? Was that the executive order? That's a terrible thing, right? Great asset, but it comes with some penalties. And at 2 to 3%, it's going to be worth half as much as it is in 35 years. Bitcoin is 50 trillion times more difficult to mine than it was in 2009. That's just 14 years later. The difficulty adjustment, every time we go through one of those halvings, the difficulty adjustment gets higher and higher and higher. So this number, this 50 times, this is going to go up, which makes Bitcoin extremely valuable for the long haul. Mining? So when we talk about mining, I was talking about those blocks that are being validated every 10 minutes, right? There's tons of computers out there, tons, that are all mining, saying, hey man, let me solve this equation, let me solve this block, let me be the first person to audit this block so that I have the block reward. So what are they doing? They're spending energy, they're spending money on that energy, they're solving equations, there's tons of computers all doing this in competition at the same time, and so when they get that one block, that is considered a mined block that is confirmed and then sent to every decentralized node on the network that's keeping a copy of the blockchain. I know that's a lot. We will have questions at the end.
I'll give you that network of nodes.
Network of nodes that we know about right now, I think we're sitting somewhere around 55,000, right? And I got a graph for you here shortly, which is really cool.
What's a block worth?
Sorry?
What is a block worth?
What is a block worth right now? If you solve a single 10-minute block, you get 6.25 Bitcoin today. If you solve one 10-minute block in April of 2024, you will only get 3.15, whatever the math is.
So when will we reach 21 million?
So 21 million comes in the year 2140.
Yeah.
So we will be mining Bitcoin on half every 4 years to 2140.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Wow.
The half-life of Bitcoin in 2024 is 100 years. Think about that, 100 years. The half-life. The half-life in 2036 is 1,000 years. And the half-life of Bitcoin in 2048 is 10,000 years. That is generational wealth. That is digital immortality. And I guarantee you, this is something that I'm just going to throw out there. The people that do this now, that are in as early as prior to AOL, and you are the person that set up an account, you got a cold wallet, and started giving this to your heirs, you are going to be remembered in that family. 100%. They will skip grandfathers and grandmothers and generations to talk about, good old Lila, who stacked a few sats for it. I'm serious as a heart attack. This is game-changing, world-changing technology that is absolutely going to change everything. The cool thing is, governments can't stop it. As much as they want to. They have no idea how to do it, except turning off the power, nuking the planet, making you use less. Crazy.
Where can we find this information online to get a deeper dive into?
I'll try to post it on the website. And I also run a couple shows, so. 99% of people cannot beat inflation, we said that earlier. 99% of the companies cannot beat inflation. No country can beat inflation. What does that equal? Everyone buy Bitcoin. You can beat it by buying Bitcoin. But you're never going to beat it any other way. Never. We have a solution. Everything that we talked about earlier, the banking crisis. Why? Because you become your own bank. With Bitcoin, you are your bank. That is scary as hell, and it should scare the hell out of you. It scared the hell out of me when I first started doing it. I'll tell you, a cranny new Marines, you figure this kind of stuff out, you can't do. And I will tell you, this space is that space that's just like, hey, come be part of our tribe. Like, we're looking for people. This is cool. Come here, let me show you how to do this. Great people in the space, make all sorts of tutorial videos, especially once you get plugged in to the Bitcoin-only crowd. This is the key. Find the Bitcoin-only people, because reputation in this community is second to none. If you screw up here, see you later. You had a good run, but we're going to depart now. We're not going to do business with you. So, banking crisis is over. Control politicians. If they can't print money and they can't steal money from you, what are they going to do?
Okay, I have what they'll do.
I'm sorry?
So I have an idea of what they'll do. Because they're going to be rolling out the digital currency. How?
We're going to get there.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, then I'll ask my question.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, there's going to be a transition period. But what are we pushing for? Are we pushing for the adoption of CBDCs? No. What else is there? There's gold, there's silver, there's chickens, there's beef, all that.
Brass, lead,
Yes,
black powder.
all that stuff that I definitely suggest you have before you get into Bitcoin. Being anti-fragile, being resilient, being impossible to make you come into an internment camp. All those things first. But control politicians, and eventually, they're going to have to come to you with some kind of ideas, some type of service, just like everybody else in the market. The rogue bureaucracies, well, you're going to pay for the FBI? I'm not paying for the ATF. I'm not paying for any of these guys anymore. No, thank you. I don't need your service. I don't want to contribute to you. Guess what? I lost my keys in a boating accident along with all my guns. Sorry. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
Billionaire pedo rings. You cannot set up the apparatus that is the FBI and the CIA and NSA and Google and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and the rest of these organizations that link all these pedos together, set up traps for them, manipulate them, blackmail them, do whatever they need to do, and run a billionaire pedo ring. You can't do that. Why? Get found out, you're done. Nobody's doing that kind of stuff, and nobody has the power to set up that type of organization to rape kids and do terrible stuff to kids, and they're coming at you with their hand out. The only way they do that is with a gun to your face. What they do now. Never-ending war? No, that's over. Censorship. New platforms that are popping up that you guys may not know about. You guys ever heard of Nostr? Nostr is the newest creation of Jack Dorsey. And Jack Dorsey has repented a bit for what happened at Twitter when he got kind of pushed out by the board, and then everybody came in and he's like, whoa, what happened? Nostr is just like Twitter, only it's you own all of your content, you have public keys and private keys, and anything you want to go anywhere belongs right there, and nobody can do anything to it. And you can also get paid for your content, so they can just zap you some sats, which For those of you guys, I've used sats quite a bit. Sats is just a fraction of a Bitcoin. Okay, there's 100 million sats per Bitcoin. All right.
What is that? What did you say?
A sat, like a bit. Some people want us to use the word Satoshi, sat. Rigged elections. I think elections, once this really kicks into gear, are going to be a lot more local, a lot less centralized. And when that kind of stuff happens, there's a guy named Brett Morrison, who's a good friend of mine, who's developing the voting system that would interface with Bitcoin so that if anybody ever tampered with your vote, then everybody knows about it.
Whoa.
You know who he used to work for? Elon Musk. He's awesome. State propaganda. Is it dying already? Anybody seen what happened with Tucker when they went through all that? How many people did Tucker have on a nightly show? About 12 million-ish? Yeah? Now he's doing what? 50, 60 million people on Twitter alone? What? Media's dead. You know who was funding it? Everybody that was involved in the pandemic. Bill Gates was a main contributor to media. All that kind of stuff is dying right now in front of us. Cultural decay. What happens when you start to invest in yourself and save for rainy days, and your family comes together, and you start looking long time horizon? I'll tell you what happened to my family. We went from being a small nuclear family to an extended family. We started bringing in grandparents. We started moving closer to each other. We started setting up what's called a citadel. So we now have generations living under one roof or within a couple of miles. I've got my in-laws, my mom and dad live a ridge over, my brother lives another ridge over. It's all right there, all of his family is there. This cultural decay, it starts at home, right? We can start to build a nuclear family, make them anti-fragile so that, I don't know, you're the only breadwinner in the family and you lost your job. You were very specialized, you made a lot of money. Now what? Well, if you had invested in Bitcoin a few years ago, this doesn't matter at all. Nobody even notices. Nobody cares. Maybe you got some free time. Maybe you're hanging out with your kids for a summer and you haven't had a break since you were 13 years old because you've been working ever since. It's pretty cool. Inflation and tax. Like I said, we're deflation and taxes. Well, they're going to have to come to you with their hand out. Zero justice. This is probably going to change a lot. It's going to change right down to your locality very quickly because your sheriff, who will probably change into a much more rights-friendly, service-friendly sheriff or police force or mayor, this guy, he now has to depend on you to fund his police force. Now you're looking at contracts. What are you guys going after people for? You're going after peaceful people? Because I'm not going to give you money if you're going after peaceful people. I don't care. That guy's got some mushrooms, he's got some cannabis, he's got some ayahuasca, they're doing some spiritual things with that kind of stuff. They're doing, anything with, I don't know, veterans in terms of PTSD. Like, if you're going after those guys, I'm not going to pay you. I don't need you, I'll pay some other guy.
You are a libertarian.
Oh, yeah. Real freedom. And loss of natural rights. Well, I mean, if an organization doesn't have that kind of power to come after you, to come and waste their money, waste their gas, have a stand-up bureaucracy, and force people to turn over their pistol braces, their extended magazines, their bump fires, whatever, right? That kind of stuff goes away. And ESG policy, anybody sick of hearing ESG policy? I mean, it's right up there with like pedophiles and trans and all that crap that's being shoved down our throat. Like, I don't care if you're gay, like whatever you do in your private life is your private life.
Right.
Mine is kids. But like this kind of stuff being shoved down your throat, this stuff ends because it's not affordable. It doesn't make sense. You're only going to spend money on things that make sense to add value to your lives. And if this kind of stuff doesn't add value to your life, what are you going to do? You're going to pay for it? Hell with it. And the imminent CBDC. This is the split. The imminent CBDC. This is coming next month. How are they going to roll it out? Have you guys thought about this? Have you heard about it?
I heard they already did a soft rollout.
So, The way they're gonna do this, they're gonna do it just like
Fed
COVID.
now.
Right? They're gonna do it like COVID. How did they do what they did with COVID?
Fear.
The government didn't come to you, yes. Weapons grade military psyops. Yeah? Fear, 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 fear. But what do they do to you? They come up to you and be like, hey, you're gonna go take the vaccine. No, of course they didn't. What did they do? Just like Operation Choke Point, they took around the end, they used a third party in the private sector, and they said, hey, you organizations that interface with us, you are gonna tell your people that to work in your employment, you're gonna take the vaccine, or adios, yeah? And they're gonna force you out, they're gonna other you, that kind of thing. They're gonna do the same thing with ESG. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this kind of plays into that. So I'm curious how Bitcoin would protect you against the government partnering with pharma to inject you with a computer chip either in your hand or your forehead, and say that the only way that you can purchase things digitally, Bitcoin included, is to use the chip.
Because
They're gonna be pushing that, they're gonna be trying to force us into paying digitally. So I'm just curious.
so
what
if you and I, we want to have a transaction, you've got cattle and I've got chickens, right? And we need to do something because we don't want to deal with the hormone injected and all that other crap food. And we're neighbors, right? We're just neighbors and like, hey, listen, cash is gone. We're on CBDCs now. What can I do? I can come over to you and be like, hey, for a side of beef, I will make sure that half of your chicken and eggs are covered for your family.
So you're saying bartering,
You
so,
can
because
do
it's
that.
all the box store, like
Yeah.
Publix will be like that, all the stores will be like that.
Oh, yeah. And here,
So you're saying the bartering.
so that barter starts, right? But what happens if I don't have eggs and I want to trade with you? Labor. You do labor. We can do whatever else. But if you have Bitcoin and I have Bitcoin, all we got to do is be like, hey, how much? Okay, Zach, you got money now, and now you can go spend that with anybody else around the world.
Okay, so then how do you handle the learning curve? Because Bitcoin, from fiat to Bitcoin is a ginormous jump, and there's, the population is older. So how does that work?
Very steppy
So
process.
yes, so
And
right
I put
now,
myself in that order.
right? So let's think about it. Go back to 1994. How many of you guys were computer scientists in 1994? How many? 10. Of course you were. Most of us weren't, right? Like, if you were that person who was trying to connect with somebody through MS-DOS, right, and you were going through all these little boxes and everything else, like, I had a buddy who was that guy who was teaching me probably in 1987. That was fun until I got over my head and I was like, ooh, this is a weird world out here. Like, I think I'm gonna go play with Legos again. When you think about where we're at with Bitcoin in terms of adoption and familiarity and know-how, it's going to get easier. It's already getting easier. Like what we used to do with Bitcoin in terms of like how you had transactions like a website, you're like, dude, this is sketch. I am not doing this kind of stuff, right? It was. And I mean, and then you had Silk Road pop up, and God bless, Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht challenged the banks and started doing swaps as a market with Bitcoin, like Amazon, basically only more free. And they said, hey, you're going to jail for a double life sentence because of what you did, right? And then you got guys like Sam Bankman-Fried who ran FTX, who's out on bail. Why? He's part of it.
He's part of it.
Of course he is. Of course he is. So, in terms of this adoption period and what's going to happen, I don't know how it's going to go. This is one of those things where we've played, mental chess and like, hey, if they do this, we're going to do this. The thing is, everybody that I've talked to in Bitcoin that is magnitude smarter than I am, they're already so far ahead of these guys with FUD, which you guys know what FUD is, right?
No. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
And doubt, right? And most of it's propagated. It's 5th generation warfare in terms of psyops, right? Oh, what are we going to do? We're going to be afraid of it? No, we're not going to be afraid of it. We're going to see this opportunity in front of us. We're going to seize it, and we're going to do as much as we can to learn, right? And you will. Once you start to get this hook in you, you're just going to be like, oh, what's next?
Shane, do you follow Michael Saylor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's amazing. 100%.
So are there classes or
Yes.
is there some way?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get, hey, what time do I have to wrap up?
It's early still.
It's early, okay.
That
I'm
didn't
gonna
answer
take,
the
go ahead.
question.
How are we gonna get it from the banking system that's falling into the crypto system?
Yes. How are you gonna get Bitcoin out?
How are we gonna get our money from the banking system into the crypto space?
So right now, there's a number of ways, and I'll show you, who I trust,
Right.
okay? All right, so we're doing questions. Let me go through the FUD first. Yeah, no, we're gonna keep going, but there's more to this. Like, we've got questions galore, I know, right? I'm gonna show you at the end of this, the answer to your question. When we talk about FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it's being just absolutely barraged on top of you. A lot of times what they talk about is, oh, what are they gonna do about quantum computing? Quantum computing is not as robust as Bitcoin, and it won't be for a long time. The order of magnitude that quantum computing has to improve by in right now is astronomical. And at some point, we'll probably go to quantum computing, all right? Which means absolutely ridiculous equations in terms of solving this. But right now, this orange line against the top 500 supercomputers in the world, this is the Bitcoin network outperforming every country on Earth. This is military-grade computing power that Bitcoin has already surpassed and has gone way above this. This is, I think, dated 2021. I think we went over something like 43 exahash. I don't even know how many zeros that is, people. Like, that's a ton of zeros. People that will get into you, especially from the ESG crowd, about Bitcoin being power hungry. Let's talk about this for a second. This is one of the biggest pieces of FUD going around, and especially because it fuels ESG, all right? ESG is meant to limit the consumption power because they don't have the purchasing power to buy materials from the Middle East or from all these other countries as people are unpegging the dollar anymore. So what do they have to do? They have to convince the entire population to use less energy. Well, what happened to the population when we discovered electricity? Explosion. We had an absolute boom in terms of that. Should we, as a human species, start using less energy? No. In fact, there's a lot of arguments from my camp that says we should be learning how to use more energy. Using energy as efficiently as possible, but as a human species, if we want to propel the species to the next level, we have to use more energy. And there's a double-edged sword for these idiots, right? EVs, and no offense to anybody that drives an EV, they're fun, they're cool. But guess what? In terms of the amount of reusable or sustainable energy they use versus the Bitcoin crowd, Bitcoin is already crushing them. And they're doing more every day to tap untapped energy. It's energy that's what they call stranded. So if we go to the middle of the Congo or we go to the middle of the desert, we put it in a hydro dam, or we start capping off natural gas tanks, right? That natural gas that is put into the air would usually be burned methane. And they have to do that because methane is worse for the environment than carbon. It's still, I think, what is it, 10%? It's still released in. Now, you put an engine on that guy, and you put Bitcoin miners on that, and what are you doing? You're burning all of that kind of stuff while creating a secure network and energy for the network to mine Bitcoin. It's already better than those guys. Equity, big thing. Equity in terms of a lot of progressive speech. What does it mean? It's just like, well, does everybody have a shot at this? Yes. What you're seeing in orange here is the distributed amount of Bitcoin. At the bottom, the blue is Satoshi Nakamoto himself. That's how many Bitcoin he has. And then you've got a thin line of green, which is the balance of other miners. A small one, I think of, what is it, red there, the mining pools, and then everything else here. That is 92% distributed in terms of how it's been populated among individuals. Does that look like there's a monopoly by any one entity whatsoever? No. And who can buy it? Everybody. Absolutely everybody. So that's the first piece of FUD we get to. Then we get to the extremist FUDs, all right? What if the power goes out forever? I don't know, you go to the bank? What are you going to get your stocks? If you want to read a really, really harrowing book that you will not put down, and then become a prepper for the rest of your life and move out to the mountains, go read this book 1 second after. Oh God, so good. You will pour through this book so fast. And then you will go and you will prep for the rest of your life. I'm a prepper, guys. Like, look, I'm a homesteader. We churched it up a little bit, family, all that kind of stuff, goats, chickens, you know. It's a little bit different than me being a satellite down in my bunker, right? If we lose power for an extended period of time, let's just talk through this, because I know everybody's like, yeah, they're going to come out with power grids. I don't disagree with you. How many of you guys have a car? Does anybody have a car with an AC outlet in it? Yeah? An AC outlet, not a DC, or a DC, it doesn't matter, really. You have power, you have a generator. That whole thing has an alternating current, and it has DC current, and you can run whatever you want. This cool guy, Elon Musk, started making this thing called Starlink a few years ago, right? Starlink is low orbit internet. Now, if you have a car, or you have a genset, and you have Starlink, you're not cut off, right? Can you make transactions? Of course you can. Turn those things on in your car, make a transaction, there you go, it's done. If there's a nuclear holocaust, there's an EMP, here's where Bitcoin really shines. If you've done everything else and you're anti-fragile and you have some coins, silver, gold, I prefer silver because most times you're not getting killed for silver, and some lead, and you've done it, right? What are you doing? What's your family plan? These are hard conversations to have with your family. What's our plan if we have an EMP? Well, are we sticking around? What's the prognosis on restoring power?
Like in every disaster movie, everyone's going to get in their car and get stuck on the highway trying to get out of there.
Yeah. Shame.
I know, in Atlanta, we'll get out.
Yeah, please don't come to my house. Or are you leaving? Are you going to go find power? Are you going to be a refugee possibly? Maybe. Worst case scenario, you flee America, right? If you flee America, well, El Salvador's pretty cool. They adopted Bitcoin. They're amazing.
They're all Bitcoin.
Yep.
Really?
Oh yeah, and the statistics down there are off the charts. They don't talk about it because it puts everything else to shame. So what are you going to do? You leaving? I know where I'm going. I'm going to get my family on some sort of exit when they're running supplies from, I don't know, Australia or the UK, whoever didn't get EMP. And I'm going to smuggle my family out to wherever I need to go. And in my brain, or on a piece of paper, or on something hard, or whatever I can do with mnemonics, I'm going to smuggle my 24 seed words out of the country. And when I get there, I've got every Bitcoin I've ever bought. You can't do that. Let me tell you about what happens with militaries on borders when you're a refugee. The military that you are fleeing from says, what do you got for the war effort? And they fleece you and they take your stuff. And if you get through to the other side and you're an incoming refugee, what do? You're a shakedown. What do you got? We're going to take care of you. Gold, jewelry,
They confiscate.
it's gone. Bitcoin is there.
But you're saying smuggle the words? I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, basically, you take the words with you.
Oh, your
Once you-
password.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go over cold storage, because that might answer her question.
See, I'm sorry, yeah. Oh, just water's good. Thank you. But, so, this is a picture of Starlink. This is a genset. This is what they call the mempool. So a visualization of every transaction that's happening right now in real time. You can actually go to BitLive, something. I will put this all on the website. When you look at this, these little blocks, see all these little guys? Every one of these blocks is falling into a block formation, a lot like Tetris. You can scroll over any one of these and find out all the information about that block and be very jealous of who's moving tons and tons of money in Bitcoin. You can come up here, you can pick any one of these, and it'll tell you all the information about that block. This whole block is mined just like this, and then it goes into the blockchain after it's confirmed. That's it. So this happens after EMPs, after power goes out, whatever else, where banks and everything else are going to be closed. Electromagnetic pulse. So weapon.
We're good?
So you take a nuclear bomb and you explode it in the ionosphere. And what it does is it takes a bunch of electrons and says, hey, and it falls down to Earth. And when it does that, it creates this blanket of electricity, like a static, right? You ever touch a circuit board with not having gloves on or something like that, and people yell at you? They yell at you because if you touch it, you're going to fry a circuit board, right? That happens to every circuit board after an EMP. Completely toast, useless.
Your car shuts down.
Oh yeah, you're done. Unless it's pre, what, 1975, 77, 76? Close enough. All right, this is Bitcoin only exchanges. There's Swan and there's River. These are the guys I trust. All right? They don't do crypto, they don't do any of that kind of stuff. These two organizations are guys that I literally have very good relationships with. I know them, they've been to my house, we've had dinner. I trust them, and listen. I'll put this all up.
You will, okay.
Okay, cool. Swan and River.
River. River.io. River Financial.
I have a question.
Sure.
Famous football player named Aaron Rodgers, in his last negotiation, asked for 50% of it in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know whether they
It's not
did it
known
or not.
on.
I
They
think.
traded him in between the negotiations. But when they were doing the Packers, they were willing to do it.
Oh yeah.
Now, how do they declare that? I mean, I noticed on the latest IRS 1040, it says, have you received any income from a cryptocurrency?
Well, how does that work? Right.
How does that work?
Yes. All right. Don't spend your Bitcoin. Don't spend it.
Don't spend it.
In Bitcoin, we say hodl because some nerd, when they were in their little DMs between direct messages in between the group or guys that were talking about this and
Right.
putting it through, one of the guys said, hodl your Bitcoin, HODL, right? And it just stuck. Everybody was like, oh, that's great. We're going to use that from here on out. Don't spend your Bitcoin. Stack sats, stay humble, and you keep stacking sats, and you never spend it. If you don't spend it, you cannot be taxed on what
You
is
receive?
there. Yes.
Hey Shane,
Yes,
one
sir.
step better, not only can you not be taxed, but you know you can borrow against your Bitcoin and not be taxed.
Exactly
Then
right.
you can spend your Bitcoin that way and never pay tax.
Is this FDIC?
I do it currently.
The FDIC wishes they could have some control over this.
Yeah.
They have nobody can touch it.
They're lying. It
What's
is
that?
out there that you're gonna get taxed.
Oh, sure it is. They're running every psyops they can. Don't spend your Bitcoin. What are they gonna do?
They're gonna hire
I just have
87,000 IRS
Well, if you
agents.
want to spend it,
Eventually, yes, but don't do it now. Don't put it in Bitcoin what you can't keep in Bitcoin.
Borrow against it.
Yeah.
Just
What
like you
can
do your
do,
home with a home equity
Set up a
line.
now I
trust.
see what you're talking about.
Set up a trust.
You don't have to pay
Borrow
taxes on a home
against
equity line,
True.
but you borrow money against your
Is there
asset.
any limit how much?
Losing
Same as
control.
Bitcoin.
What you got?
Is there any limit how much money you can put in?
No,
Okay, because there's nobody following you on this, is that,
they don't get to control where you spend your money.
okay, so the
So-
only, who knows about this? Just the other Bitcoin people and maybe whoever you're.
So the Treasury knows about this, the Federal Reserve knows about this, the International Banking Cabal definitely knows about this. Everybody in the European Union government knows about this. Most world leaders know about this. We have two presidential candidates who are on both sides of the aisle bipartisanly who have come out and said, Bitcoin's a right. You get to keep your own nodes, you get to keep your own seed words, you have an absolute right to it, and we're anti-CBDCs. So it is extremely well known. The Pentagon has a guy that just wrote his thesis called Software on this. I'm blanking on his name, but he's working with the Pentagon in terms of power projection on what Bitcoin provides to the US. So this is, you ever heard the old adage, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. we're already in the they fight you stage. This is unprecedented. This is being adopted so much faster than the internet ever was. That right now, what they're fighting against is the adoption of this going viral. They have to use every trick in the book in terms of FUD and PSYOPs to make sure that you don't get it. Yeah.
Have you investigated who owns Bitcoin?
Who owns it?
Yes.
Who started it, maybe?
So you mean who
Not who started
who
it,
wrote the
who
code?
owns it now?
No.
I have.
Oh, yeah?
The Rothschilds own it, yes.
What?
The Rothschilds, I followed Bitcoin back when it was $500 to get in. Back in 2016, they had offered it. I saw this because I was in Hollywood.
So if there was any credible evidence to that whatsoever, then this entire community would be like, we're out.
But
See
the
you
thing
later.
is, most people don't look into who owns what in the world. And even in The Economist magazine, the Rothschilds own that magazine. So they stated back in 1988.
If you were a banker who was completely leveraged in fiat and you owned a publication, what would you do?
But it wasn't in there that they said that the Rothschilds had bought it, because I was following it because I was curious about it when it came out that you could buy in for $500.
I've heard speculative things. I've
And
never
then
seen any evidence whatsoever.
Bitcoin shut down for like a month and a half after that $500 buy-in happened, because I was looking at buying into it. And I was like, why did they just shut it down? Well, then you find out that the Rothschilds were interfering with it. And then it comes back online, and all of a sudden now you can read that the Rothschilds own it through the Grayscale Trust.
Be very, yeah, I was gonna say.
Software by Major Lowry.
Thank you very, Jason Lowry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know there's stuff out there like that, right? Like, oh, here, this is owned by some very rich banking cabal. It's not. That's the thing is, when you look at miners, and it doesn't matter who ever created Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. That's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin. Nobody is special. You either play by the rules, or if you're not in Bitcoin, you're going to get pushed out. Does that make sense?
There's so many more coins that they're making right now too. Like there's so many coins that are out.
You're talking about crypto.
No, but listen. So one thing most people don't look into is the foundations of our reality and into occult knowledge about what these people have been up to for so long. And I do encourage people to do their own research.
Yeah.
They've been using terminology that is associated with death and darkness, but people aren't paying attention. What crypto is, it tells you. It's crypt,
But
which
this
is also death.
this is not crypto.
Bitcoin is part of crypto.
No, it's not. Bitcoin is completely standalone. That's what I've said the entire time. Crypto is a security, right? Crypto is one of those things where somebody just went, right? And there's nothing backing it. There's nothing to do. It's not distributed. There is certain owners or certain coins, and that's it, right? If you own a coin and you can point to people in this room who own or who created it and say, oh, who makes the decisions about the code for this coin? That's a security. You can't do that.
Who owns the machines that process all of the
It's distributed.
technology?
It's all distributed.
Who owns all of
Yeah.
the electric companies
No,
that
no.
manage the machines?
It's
This is-
distributed, right?
It's all like,
And it's changing, and it doesn't matter, because what they're doing in terms of increasing power supply and steadying power grids and taking over some of these organizations where they're actually running and funding their own energy co-ops now. Like this, Bitcoin's literally doing this through distributed free market companies.
well, I
And
encourage
it's not just companies, some nerd in their parents' basement could be doing it as well.
Well, and this
There's
nerd
answers
is doing it
to
too, right?
There's always answers.
They start out with lots of,
Yeah.
young people.
And
That's how they
it
were
still
making
is
their
very
money.
young. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but
Yeah, because I question
to try to
it.
make synonymous Bitcoin and crypto, they are completely divorced from each other.
Well, what I've done a little bit of research and digging into symbology, and most people don't know about the symbols. And actually that coin, Bitcoin, if you see the symbol of it, it's got the 13 families, it's got the number 13 on it. People don't know about symbolism, they don't know about terms.
I've read up on symbols, and like, I get the idea, but
Well, I
here's,
see what it is, it's bait and switch. That's what I see. I'm
okay,
sorry.
yeah.
that's just what I see.
But here's the thing is, you presented me an argument, but you haven't provided any
Yes,
So-
I want to read something from one of the Economist magazines, what they said about this new digital currency that's coming online.
How about we post it?
Whenever,
How about-
whenever you have
Just get back
time.
on track with what you were.
Yeah, let's talk about that more at the end, just if we can, because I want him to be able to get through his
Yeah,
presentation.
we only have a couple
But
of
I
slides,
just want to
guys.
say just real quick too, I've noticed that, and you guys probably noticed too, that a lot of the things that they don't want us to do, they'll come out and make something fake about it, to try to get us to not do it, like vitamin D is bad for you, right?
Take
So-
it, take it from a guy that's been on the leading edge
Right.
of the PSYOP, okay? Like, I was that guy that was with the agency, that was with the military, that did all of these kind of stuffs prior to actually going into countries. Like, this is what they do. They throw tons and tons of false information that you can or may not, and they make it, I don't know, it sound fairly legitimate. But at the same time, like, those guys are doing
COVID.
extremely insidious things with the PSYOP. That's the real war right now.
Yeah.
It's this 5th generation PSYOP, and it's legit, I'm telling you.
You have to look at the source.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to be aware, and that's part of why we do this, so.
That's why I don't get into crypto. I won't do it. Hot wallets. Hot wallets are not your wallets, all right? Can you interface with them? And should you interface with them? Yes, the right ones, okay? So what they're building, think of, again, TCP/IP. It's the base layer of the internet, all right? This is the communications protocol for how we send communication. So for this, what we're going to do is we're going to not only have that base layer communication, but we're also going to put layer 2 technology on top of it. The reason why we don't do everything on layer 1 is because layer 1 does something very well, and it doesn't sacrifice for what it does very well. It audits the blockchain. It is security. It is perfect energy money, all right? That's why we keep level 1, the secure small block space. Level 2 is Lightning right now. Arc is coming. Lightning is a payments processor on level 2 technology that interfaces with level 1. Think about TCP/IP, and then we had email, then we had AOL, then we had social media, layers, all right? So on this layer, what they're doing is they're using the blockchain to keep everything secure in terms of transactions, but what they're doing is settling larger transactions a little bit at a time and doing all the small transactions on layer 2. Lightning can process more payments than Visa, MasterCard, and every other credit card company on Earth, and they can do it cheaper and faster. So Lightning, from you to her, boom. You want some sats? Great, here they are. You want to send some sats around the world? Here they are. No clearinghouse, nothing like that.
Shane, have you seen how large the Litecoin is involved in the new Lightning Network?
No,
Very much so.
I'd be very careful with it. Litecoin?
Yes, in the Lightning Network.
Oh, Lightning Network.
No, Litecoin involved in the Lightning.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still feeling it out, right? They're still building layer 2, and layer 2 is going to be what catapults us into mass adoption. Cold wallets. All right. This is where we get really nerdy, guys.
Yeah, I need it.
All right.
I'm listening.
I can't wait.
Super nerdy. All right, this is what they call a cold wallet. It's just you interfacing with the code. What does this thing do? It generates 24 random seed words for cryptography, right? 256-bit encryption. What does that mean? That means if you took every electron and every piece of sand or molecule or space dust in the entire universe, and you tried to guess somebody else's seed words, you'd have a better chance at picking that one grain of dust out of the universe. That's how complicated 256-bit encryption is. So your 24 seed words, you can come from here, you can roll some dice, you can do whatever you want to come up with your 24 seed words. All right? Those 24 seed words, they get stored on steel or titanium that's melt resistant. Hopefully put it in a safe place. Make sure you're doing the smart thing with it. But that is your last resort backup. You don't want to do anything with your phones, with your cameras.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I've got both of these.
Can you show us?
I don't have it with me. Yeah,
Can
but
you send me
No,
your
I meant like
key?
maybe a demo or something like that.
I have demos online and all that fun stuff, so.
Because that's why I hate these cold storage. I mean, you've got to have little, tiny little fingers.
I definitely recommend
So
the cold
clunky.
card then, all right?
How's the security? You said it's very secure.
So this is air-gapped technology. What does air-gapped technology mean?
It means it's connected to the internet, according to the Secretary of State.
Yeah, this is never, ever, ever connected to the internet, ever. So this, there's a micro SD card that goes in to the side right here. And when you connect through your wallet that's on your laptop, you authorize either sending or receiving a transaction. That transaction code comes into that SD card. That SD card is put in here. The only thing that it does is goes, yep, got it. Bam. We're releasing, and that's it.
Do you have to re-enter your seed or is it there for good?
Seed's good, they're good.
Okay.
There, a lot of these will have a passcode set up. So this one, you can do six digits, dash 6 digits, or you can do anything in combination there.
What about the battery?
So this, you can either plug into a DC battery, or you can plug it into a DC adapter that goes into the wall.
That's the problem with some of the others right
Yes.
there.
Because if you plug this into your laptop, right, what's going to happen? It's called an attack vector.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to craft the 256-bit encryption. All right? Even if you're plugged into the internet with a Bitbox 02, the idea that somebody's going to crack that,
So is that,
They're
is
just gonna hack
that
something.
following like a ledger that I've seen?
this one, yeah, so yes. And here's the thing is, I used to use Ledger. I will tell you, Ledger was really a really nice interface for a long
But
time.
that's kind of what,
Bitboxes, yeah. Cold card is different. Cold card is the same but different. It's air gap. So your Bitbox 02 and your Ledger you'll plug in. Ledger just recently
Big
came out.
letters, we can see it.
Yes, this one. Use this one. This is the one I use. And I am blind. So when you're doing this is something that a lot of people probably should be walked through. Do this in small amounts the first time. So if you have a hot wallet like Cash App, and you take $100 and you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, and at the end of the month you haven't spent whatever your budget is, and you want to move that into cold storage so you can buy $100 worth more again, and just kind of keep up like a savings account, what they call dollar cost averaging, DCA, then that goes into here every time. Just put it in. Stack sats.
what about Trezor?
Trezor's pretty good. It's all right. Good.
So about that, Ledger Nano.
Ledger Nano?
You want to say something
Oh,
about that?
yes, sorry. Man, I pulled a thread and I'm just going. Ledger came out, they're a French company, by the way. They came out just the past couple weeks and said, hey, look, you can upgrade your firmware and we will keep your seed words.
No.
Thank you, guys have been paying attention. That was a test. Go. All right. Why do they do that? Well, they think most people are
Stupid.
stupid. They don't want to do it. They're scared of it. They're preying on fear.
You know,
Fear,
Americans.
fear.
The problem
What a
with
mean-
President Nano, you have to
Can
plug it
you
into a
talk about
garage
the
computer.
government rollout of their crypto and
You
how
do?
that's
Sure.
going to, so, and
The
how
same
we
computer,
can not get
same computer you
sucked
can
into it
install on
and
Amazon.
all that kind of thing, because that's going to be.
Yeah. We'll just keep it there. If you guys want me to roll back through any of the slides here in a little bit, that's fine. I don't want to keep you guys too long. But yes, CBDCs are coming, guys. And they're coming next month. So I don't know what you do for a living. I imagine it varies. At some point, you're not going to be able to buy Bitcoin anymore. You're going to have to work for it.
You have to what?
You're going to have to work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to either have to work for it, trade for it, do something for it, because eventually, when they roll out CBDCs and they say, hey, banks, sorry, if you want to play ball with us, the big boys,
No.
you're not interacting with these organizations anymore. You guys hear the gravity of what that means?
You're limited.
You are on the last little bit, I think, real soon. because it's already started. Operation Choke Point 2.0 started when they came after SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, right? What was Silicon Valley Bank doing?
Trading crypto.
Yeah, they were exchanging fiat for crypto and everything else, weren't they? So that's what they're doing. They're using the third party, just like Barack Obama did, to go after gun companies. They're using it the same way. They're going to say, hey, look, you're not doing business with them. They just turned down a bank proposal from a lady in the Bitcoin space that said, hey, look, not only are we going to hold full reserves in terms of our banking, but we're going to hold 115% of everything that we are charged with. Full reserve bank. You know what the SEC and the banking regulators did? Sorry, we can't have that kind of model. Like, that makes the rest of us look really, really bad. So, yeah, CBDCs are coming. I don't know what you do. If you're working for a government company or you're working for a company that does business with the government, if you're working for the government, you guys are going to be the first people that it's rolled out on. Guaranteed. Just like they did with the military-industrial complex with COVID.
Obamacare.
Yeah. Hospitals, coming.
I parked next to your truck.
Sure.
Okay, big graphics. Now explain to us what your service is and how you charge for it. Okay?
So, yeah.
Well,
Just
sorry, I was gonna have you do that at the end, is that okay? Because I just want, I want him to do it, but I wanted to finish, talking about this stuff
Yeah,
first, if that's
so
okay.
Nobody's got a crystal ball, right? Nobody has a crystal ball. You're gonna have some really interesting things that happen. You're gonna have some areas where guys have done the work. I go out to my local ranchers, I go out to my local dairy, I go out to all these people that actually make food. Hey, my name's Shane. You hate the government? I do too, right? You would be amazed at how well that goes over, especially in the country in the mountains. They're like, yeah, you're talking my language. You might be a snake salesman. And I was like, look, here's what's going to happen. You tired of these guys taking a cut of everything you're doing? Are you going to play in their system? How are you going to move your cattle? How are you going to move this really valuable resource that we need? How are you going to transact with your local community? How are you going to be that guy that comes in and absolutely saves people? You start to set up networks, citadels is what we're calling them. And that way, when the shit coins hit the pan, right? You've got somewhere to go and be like, hey man, look, bam, here's some sats. Cool, here's some beef. Hey, here's some vegetables. Here's whatever that we need to trade. That's what's going to happen. You're going to start to see a decentralization. You're going to start to see states like Florida. Florida, thank God for Ron DeSantis down there going, hey man, we're outlawing CBDCs. We're not going to do anything with that. Florida, I'll tell you what, they're about that darn close to probably being one of the freest states in the nation. I know, right? That is. What's going to follow? The same thing that happened with COVID, right? What happened? People started getting brave after he stood up. Yep. Brian Kemp finally grew a little bit, but but at the same time, what did they do? They said, well, look, this is not going over well. And studies show, like there's literal polls that are going out right now about CBDC adoption. It is a massive failure all around the world already, and it is wildly unpopular with Americans. Wildly.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I was too. I was like, wow, somebody's actually doing studies on this? That's good. So we know we've got something going for us.
Is there extra things that we can do to let them know that we're not into that?
You can become an evangelist. Once you understand it, once you know it, once you're studying it, slip over a podcast to somebody. Bitcoin Audible is run by my friend Guy Swan. That guy is amazing. He takes a very pertinent article that has to do with time, he reads it on his show, and then he gives you Guy's take. And I will tell you right now, Guy and I are very similar. Well, when I started finding the space, I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. I definitely didn't have some guy to come talk to me in a room like this and go, hey look, here's all the cheat codes. Go do some really cool stuff. I run a show that does introductory Bitcoin stuff. We talk about it a lot in terms of how it pertains to culture. And then, to your question, this kind of stuff, this is what I roll around doing all the time. is concierge and advisory stuff. What are you into? What do you got? What are you doing? What are your plans? This does not just include Bitcoin. Where are you at in life is the question, right? Go ahead.
Sorry, because I do want you to do that at the end.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to ask, if people have businesses, can we start accepting Bitcoin, and can we do it dollar for dollar? Is there an exchange rate, or do we do it dollar for dollar? Like if I charge somebody $100, do I say you can pay me $100?
So basically, you'll just keep up with whatever, the quote-unquote exchange rate is, right? One Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin, by the way, all right? So you will probably have to change your understanding of what that is as, we climb, and we're about to hit a bull market. So yes, it's called, it's Lightning. You can do it in a couple different ways. You can have a Lightning address that comes from a place called Nodeless. Nodeless will take you in a non-KYC, so know your customer. You don't have to give them any of your information, and you can accept it, just like cash. And you can stock it. You can do whatever you need to do. You can run your business this way. Like it's one of those things where it's going to take some education. But yes, you can run your business using Bitcoin and Bitcoin only.
How much does it cost to trade the Bitcoin, or is that just the exchanges?
So when you buy Bitcoin from an exchange, there's two ways to get Bitcoin, right?
Buy or trade or sell?
So you can buy Bitcoin, you can receive Bitcoin, or you can mine Bitcoin. So three ways, okay? If you mine Bitcoin, nobody knows that you've got it. However, you're gonna take the brunt of the cost in terms of what you're going to spend on power and machinery and all that other kind of stuff. Or you can learn how to buy Bitcoin and then move it to an address that's yours that is not KYC. Know your customer information's not there. Okay. Am I answering your question so far?
Yeah, but also then, like say, there's a lot of businesses that I've noticed have stopped taking cash. Panera Bread, Houston's Restaurant, Augusta Restaurant.
Yeah, treat them like Target.
Any other ones which, which
That's
like
right.
not
Yeah.
go to. But can we, is there a way to use Bitcoin, or they have to accept Bitcoin?
They have to accept it, they have to be set up.
Here's the deal. It depends on who they are, all right? And it's going to be a case-by-case business. If there's a QR code and you know how to use Tor, the Tor network, you can transfer on the Lightning Network sats to dollars, no remittance, cost-free, just like that in real time.
On what network?
Tor, T-O-R.
And they don't have to specifically take Bitcoin?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it does automatic remittance from Bitcoin to whatever currency you want to spend it in.
Okay.
Do they have low fees?
Say?
There's fees involved.
Oh, Lightning. So Lightning is super low fee.
Okay.
It's less expensive
That's
than.
important, you guys.
Oh, yeah, for your
Might as well
business.
talk about that.
For your business. If you can save 2 to 3% on whatever the, Visa, MasterCard, whoever that, if you can save that as a business model, wouldn't you save it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. This is a ton of information. And I appreciate, I see some faces. Like, if you guys need to get up and leave, I don't know, bathroom, whatever, you're not gonna offend me at all, okay, so please.
So I know that you're not here to give financial advice, but if you were me,
I'm gonna tell you, what I am not exposed to the dollar at all. I try to live completely on Bitcoin, which is not a simple thing. Oh yeah, 100%. Like it is. If I have to turn something over and sell Bitcoin, oh my God. But it pains me. It really does. It pains me because I know what I'm taking from that asset that's going to be worth what it is in 10 years from now. I'm going, oh my God. I have to put as much money back in here as possible.
But
So-
can you please tell them you live off the grid anyways?
Yeah, but I still connected with everybody that's on the grid.
I know, but you still live on it. So you're not paying water and power. I mean, you're.
I pay for power.
So you don't have to say.
Most some,
not,
yes.
But like, if you don't mind telling us, you're not in the stock market or
Nope.
in,
I have zero exposure to the dollar. Zero.
So how do you get your properties?
Right.
Hurt. If I have to absolutely do it, and they don't take anything else, then I absolutely have to convert. You're welcome, thank you. Guys, you have to convert at some point. But for everything else, there's Bit Refill, there's a few other organizations that will take whatever you need, give you like an IOU or a gift card for it, and at that point, you go in, spend your money, check out, and you just spend, pay what you're spending for Bitcoin.
What were those called?
There's, I just had it on top of my head. Bit Refill, and there is Bitcoin. Oh gosh, I should know this off the top of my head. I'll put it up to you.
Yeah, but since you're spending it, don't you have to declare it with the IRS?
I don't.
Don't ask anything.
Because here's the thing is, they don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
They have no idea
They have no
what address
So
that's
you're
coming
really serious about that? They don't know where this
No.
is coming from?
from. Not a chance.
They're lying to us. Okay.
Yes, they are.
Shocker.
Of course they would. Why would they sit there and tell you, hey, there's this amazing stuff out here that we can't do anything with.
Yeah.
We can't hold the gun and extract it from you.
Sean.
That's a game changer.
Sean, what's your feelings on credit cards such as BitPay, where you load it with Bitcoin,
Yep.
but once you use it, like tonight at this restaurant, at the time of sale, that Bitcoin of yours turns into fiat for this restaurant.
Right.
That company's located right here in Alpharetta.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
a BitPay credit card.
Yeah, so if it's some kind of refillable card, it's a lot like what that hot wallet is.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah, but it is KYC.
Yes, it is.
It is what?
Yes, it is KYC. Know your customer, which means they know who it is. Hot wallets, that's what I'm gonna tell you, hot wallets are not cold wallets. Hot wallets aren't your Bitcoin, it's somebody else's Bitcoin that you kind of have to deal with in the background. That's why you use a Bitcoin-only organization.
That's just, the BitPay card is just one way to use Bitcoin
Yes.
to make purchases.
Yes.
But that's a KYC.
That is a
So
KYC.
Shane,
Sure.
the question was about, the learning curve, and I know that's been probably a stumbling block to a lot of us, and especially
Sure.
like my mother, who's 84, doesn't want to have to figure it out, right? But they're gonna have to figure out the CBDC anyway, right? So I mean, is that?
They'll do it
Here's the
for
thing
you.
is,
They'll
think
make it
about
easy.
CBDCs this way. It's gonna be Apple compared to Android. Everything is gonna be controlled and figured out for you with the CBDC.
They'll make it easy.
And it's super stupid, it's super easy, and it's super manipulated.
It's so convenient.
Oh, super convenient. And what are they gonna promise you?
They're gonna give
They're gonna make some promises. They're gonna tell you.
It's gonna be as good as
And
Obamacare.
here's the other thing.
Oh,
In the interim, if you have to use a CBDC, use a CBDC. Keep doing what you're doing with whatever you can with Bitcoin. But if you've got to transact and you got to feed your family, and they're not saying you got to go and do terrible things to other people for it, use it, right? Whatever weapon you have, right? Like that's one cool thing about the Marine Corps. They used to say, one mind, any weapon. Use whatever is handy. Fork, glass, this, that, whatever. Use it against them, whatever way you can.
So what if an employer would start to pay you in CBDC instead of dollars, then, dollars, right?
You got a choice to make, just like with the COVID
So
vaccine.
would you transfer it immediately to, well, you would, I know.
You know, it's gonna be an individual decision based on what your family needs now.
Can I use my CDBC to buy Bitcoin?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, would
So
There's always a roundabout.
what's gonna happen, right? And because we're not going CBDC everywhere, all around the world, all at once. So
Yes.
will you be able to take a CBDC and buy something somewhere else, trade it for a foreign currency that has banks that do business with people that do business with Bitcoin or with the network?
Like El Salvador.
Yes.
Right.
And in that case, what's gonna happen? Oh, the black market is gonna be like, I got some bananas over here that smell like Bitcoin.
It's just
And-
navigating that, all that.
It's a lot of work, for sure.
Hey, listen,
And you can
That's what
lose
it is.
it by accident.
this
My birthday.
is what think about this from a 1776 perspective, all right?
Yeah.
1776, if you said anything, you stood up, anything, what happened to you? That's the anti-federalists, the people that they ignored, the people that they blacked out. They were absolute prophets. They wrote concisely. They said, if you centralize government, you're going to die lonely and broke, and this is what's going to happen to this republic in this amount of time. What do they do? They cast them out of society. They were craftsmen. They were entrepreneurs. They were farmers. They were the small town, easy people to get along with. And they said, man, we don't want to do this. We don't want to put all this power in a central position. Same thing's going to happen with Bitcoin, guys. You're gonna, at some point, we're gonna be challenged. We're being challenged now. Cool thing is this time we actually maybe get to pull off a revolution without as much bloodshed.
Right.
That's really the whole point, right?
Why do you think the government hates Bitcoin so much?
Man, it's because absolutely every one of those guys that we call a rent seeker that's coming to you going, give us your stuff, give us your money, give us your property, give us your taxes, and if you don't, we're still going to inflate it all the way anyway, and it's never going to be enough.
So Shane, going back to your screen where you had all those, the list of things like, corrupt officials and the banks and all those things.
Sure.
It sounds like from what you're saying that if we all were to adopt this, that we could eliminate all those things which are making the world kind of a challenging place to live. Or making us think about right now, right? All those things are going to go away if we all adopted Bitcoin.
Not going to be perfect, but like I said, this type of violence, this is the communication protocol, a CBDC, fiat, shitcoins, whatever you want to call them. I love the giggle every time. This is impossible. And on a large scale, this is impossible. This type of insidiousness, this type of evil, what they've done in terms of the entire predatory pedophile rings, the drug rings, everything else they do, they stand up, and this is it. Yeah, you start getting a world that's going this way, and you look around. I mean, seriously, you guys watching the world right now? It's people versus the government.
Yeah.
Internally, everywhere, minus, and that's largely to do with us, right? Like everywhere. France, yes, ma'am.
Would this possibly get rid of chemtrails or geoengineering?
You're saving no money for it.
Who's going to pay for it? Are you going to pay for it? Cool, I don't want to pay for it. I hate that kind of stuff.
Who's paying for it now?
You are.
We are.
Yeah, that extraction, that 99% extraction that's happened over the last 100 years, that's coming from all of you, and it's coming from future generations where they've already printed the money in debt, because what, $31 trillion now, 280 something trillion in unfunded liabilities for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. That doesn't touch the derivative market of, I think it's like $18 quadrillion. It's all going to come unwound. Like, this is the problem for those people. This is that big, stick in the spokes. Here's the thing, Bitcoin wasn't first either. Bitcoin was behind like e-gold or e-cash and a few other iterations where they didn't quite nail it down. Bitcoin was a response to 2008 when they started bailing people out and they said, hey, never again. We're going to get this group together or this guy together, whoever it was, right? Whatever that mystery origin story is, we're going to get these guys together and we're going to make sure that they can never steal our wealth ever again. That's who created this. Definitely doesn't sound like the Rothschilds to me.
Is the market are people, is this movement really growing, or is it stable, or is it,
Yeah, so I was just down in Miami at Bitcoin 2023. There is BitBlock Boom, which I think is happening in Austin, Texas. Bitcoin Prague just happened. There are dozens and dozens of meetups. There is Pacific Bitcoin, which Swan puts on out in California in, I think, October, November timeframe. This is a movement that is absolutely on fire, and it has one purpose and one purpose only. You can ditch politics If you're tired of like every 4 years vote for somebody or every 2 years trying to figure it out, you can ditch it. You can be like, look, I don't need any of this crap, this drama, this nonsense in my life, because the root cause of all of this is money. Until we fix the money, guys like Joe Biden, guys like, I don't know, who's the Secretary of State that's a pain in the ass. Like, all of these corrupt, just replace.
So Soros and Schwab and all those guys
All-
too, Gates and all that?
All of them. See you later, guys. What are you gonna do with us?
Are they even
Good.
So I just
human? Question.
beginning of your talk, I don't know if you've been over, why, like, okay, so your thoughts on, you know, you call any other, you call crypto shitcoins,
Yes.
essentially every single one.
Every
Like
one.
Monero,
Yeah,
XRP,
Ethereum.
all of it.
Hex.
even XRP.
All of it. What is XRP?
Well, you hate the bank, so it's the,
What is XRP?
it's what,
Banking.
it is
It's called a
the,
stable coin, right? What is a stable coin pegged to? It's pegged with the dollar. 1 for 1. That's the definition of a stable coin.
darn, I have a buttload of it.
Get rid of it. I would get rid of it as fast as possible, sure.
I see that we have a unique opportunity, because we've got a little community here, and buying a rotor-tiller might be a better idea than buying a new tire or something like that. At least you can fix your rotor-tiller, do your neighbors, get some carrots out of it.
Yep.
And, or maybe, you know, a puppy or whatever you need.
Good guard dog's good.
And so all of a sudden, we've got a network right here.
Yep.
And I might not be good at carrots, but I know how to do broccoli.
If you guys
Okay.
could literally turn this into a Bitcoin meetup, where you talked about freedom and had somebody come in and dive into a particular subject, horticulture. What do you know about farming? What do you know about farming on a mountain? What do you know about raising livestock where there's predators? What do you know about all this kind of stuff?
We're very contributing to the, I mean, this is our future with this particular group. We're going to be addressing those subjects.
Yeah, and then the thing is every one of these subjects can be facilitated with Bitcoin in mind.
And if the government wants to have a website or something.
I do.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and do
Yeah.
it. Now you can do your thing.
Oh, yeah, hey,
Your commercial.
listen, and this is one of the things that is fairly new. Concierge and advisory, right? Like, it's going to be educational. It's like this. You want to sit around and talk for 2 hours about your questions, or what is your particular situation? What is your strategy to exit the system? That's what you're doing. You're exiting the system. What is your strategy for this? What is your strategy for taking on CBDCs? Where are you at financially? You got kids that are still dependent. You got, family members that are dependent on you that are senior. What are you guys going to do? Because this is that conversation with your buddy that is going to like, hey, you're not prepared. You're not even close. You're in left field. What can we do? It's a tough conversation to have. It's especially a tough conversation if you and whoever your partner is aren't together on this. You have to bring along the other person. You have to. It is one of those things, trust me, where your marriage or relationship, this is critically important, all right? And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I've got an amazing wife, she's got amazing conviction, and she was that girl that was like, man, what are we doing? What do I have to learn? How much time do I have to spend on this? Guess what? You have to be able to like tailor it to them. Do you know who I put her in touch with? Everybody that homeschools is a Bitcoiner. Everybody that gardens is a Bitcoiner. Everybody that's doing homesteading is a Bitcoiner. Everybody that's into chickens is a Bitcoiner. Why? Because they naturally are like, hey, look, we're all on the same mission. What are you doing over here? What are you doing over here? What are you guys doing over here? And I'm like, oh, let me show you. That's a really cool way to get people excited and involved and turning on that switch. Right? I don't know how much you guys read, but like, they say you should read at least 15 minutes a day. Not listen, literally sit down and read a book for 15 minutes a day. I will tell you, I've probably got close to 10,000 hours into Bitcoin.
Oh my God.
social media.
Yeah, so Twitter's a great place. Twitter Bitcoin is the opposite of Twitter. You guys know how Twitter is? It's just like, you suck, you're terrible, and all this kind
Do you
of stuff.
trust Elon Musk?
No, I don't trust anyone, but I like a lot of what he's doing. So the way I connect with him, a lot of guys are on Twitter. There's this thing called Twitter Spaces. Have you guys heard of Twitter Spaces?
Yeah.
Twitter Spaces is super. So think of a town square where you literally have people who are invited up to speak, and you can have rooms, I don't know, a couple 100,000 or whatever. And you get up there and everybody takes turns talking about whatever the topic is. They have great speakers come in who know, God knows, just this plethora of knowledge from, my buddy Craig Foss, who used to run the Bank of Canada, the Royal Bank of Canada, who's now a Bitcoiner, or Dr. Jeff, who's down like saving babies in Costa Rica. Like you have this broad experience, and they all come in, a couple different shows every day. There's Cafe Bitcoin, there's Talks to Happy Hour. There's all these places where people just come in and they vibe together and they talk about things together. They work through things together. It is a hell of a community to be a part of. And then when you get so far into it, you're like, these guys are all going here. Man, I want to meet these guys in person. And then you get together in person in like Miami, Boston, or something like that.
That's cool.
And it is one of the most cathartic experiences on earth, because you get to vibe with people for 3 or 4 days that are all on the same mission as you. They don't have a ton of hang-ups, and then you start to find like the one niche or multiple niches that you're part of that these guys are also doing in this community and making money in this community, where they're supporting each other, going, hey, these are the people that are doing these things. Let's go, giddy up, because now life changes a little bit. And it's small. I mean, seriously, Michael Saylor, you asked about him earlier.
Yeah.
Do you know when I was walking out from RFK, giving his address to the Bitcoin conference down there, who I walked out beside? Michael Saylor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Where does that happen? That's like walking up to like Steve Jobs and be like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Let's get it. High five. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
That's how early this space is.
If anyone in the room has any doubts about Bitcoin, YouTube a Michael Saylor speech.
Michael Saylor runs MicroStrategy. A few years back, he said, we're done with the dollar. We're 100% capitalized in Bitcoin.
Yes.
And do you know what's happened to his organization? I don't know, what is it, 250,000 plus Bitcoins that they have now?
Yeah.
They are outperforming Bitcoin, right? If you look at 2020 on,
Oh, yeah.
MicroStrategy is outperforming Bitcoin by 20%, and Bitcoin is outperforming gold by 150%.
He's also a Bitcoin maximalist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I can talk all night. So, I mean,
If we want to learn more, or we want to contact you.
If you want to contact
what
me,
you do.
yeah, so what I do, you can scan this, it'll take you right to the webpage where you can drop me a little line, hey, thanks for coming over, I'd like to learn more about this kind of stuff. Let me just get to it real quick, skip around. Where everybody go?
And you know what, I'm gonna
Oh,
put Shane's
it'll be-
info on the Signal group for Agents of Truth, so everybody join Agents of Truth Signal, and then I'll put all of Shane's info on that too.
So there's basically, what we do is we teach Bitcoin basics. We will answer all your questions for 2 hours. We'll set you up with a hot wallet so you get your feet wet. If you want to continue after that and you want to set up a cold wallet to do a different session, just because it's hard for the brain to, like, it's like baby birds. You feed them too much and then they bark and they're like, oh, no. So at that point, we go and we do another session, and at that point, you will have not only your Bitcoin wallet set up, you will also have your seed plate set up that stores all of your words in titanium or steel, and have an understanding how to move whatever Bitcoin from whatever exchange, hot wallet, or anything else into your cold wallet.
This hot wallet is only for Bitcoin.
Yes.
None of these other crap coins.
No other shitcoins.
So Shane, do I understand correctly that you offer a service to try to help people kind of get their feet wet, get sort of started?
Wherever they're at.
And then out out of curiosity, would you ever do like a group
Yeah.
class on Zoom or something? Like if the people in here wanted to have a class,
Yep.
would, you do like a Zoom
Yeah.
thing? And
I would entertain a Zoom thing. I've not done one yet.
Okay.
But if, enough people wanted to get together in a situation like this, yeah, of course.
Can't pay it.
Hey, Sean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, we'll figure that out. By the end of lesson 1, you should be able to pay Bitcoin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shane, what area are you from?
So I live in northwest Cherokee County, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but obviously that comes with just, moving into where people are that need help. And so I service everything from Atlanta, South Atlanta. I have gone down to Macon, all the way up to Chattanooga. And depending on who it is, that
How far north?
Chattanooga.
Okay.
Yeah, and in certain situations where somebody's trying to hey, I need you to fly out here, I do that too.
So just quick show of hands, nobody's committing or anything, but how many might be interested in a class to kind of just get started with Shane?
The whole room.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know, you didn't see everybody's hands, but would you be willing to maybe come down if we had a room for you to do a class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably
So,
Brimstone would be better.
Brimstone.
yeah, okay, so we'll try to schedule something like that, because I think, are the rest of you like me, I know that my hesitance, my Bitcoin hesitancy, the vaccine hesitancy, my Bitcoin hesitancy, is gone now. I mean, I feel like Shane really answered a lot of questions for me. I feel really excited and optimistic, don't you guys? About the problems in the world that can be eliminated by this.
Yeah.
And I also really like knowing that it's not a crypto.
And it's on sale right now, so.
It's always on sale. Always on sale.
It's where it's still in a dip, so it is a good time to buy.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. When you really understand Bitcoin, and I'm going to tell you right now, this took me a minute to do. I was like, I'm only going to do this, I'm only going to do this, I'm only going to do this, until I had enough knowledge. The knowledge is what gave me conviction. So I don't care if it's 69,000, I don't care if it's 15,000, I don't care if it's $1 million. I'm buying Bitcoin. And to understand why that is, do evaluation. The world economy is $900 trillion, right? If you were to take 5% of $900 trillion, and Bitcoin captures that part of the market, which is sub the US dollar, which is about 45% of the market, total $900 trillion. You're looking at $2.1 million of Bitcoin. That's for 5%. If you get up to dollar status, which we will eventually, it's just going to keep going, keep going, keep going. It's going to go hyperbolic. When fiat goes to 0, Bitcoin goes to infinity. So if $900 trillion and we take 45% of that, you're looking at $60 million worth of value per Bitcoin.
But if I wanted to buy Bitcoin today.
Start with a single Satoshi.
Well, you know what, I think all of the people that raised their hand that said they're interested in doing a class, I think we will. Maybe we'll see if we can do that at Brimstone, and maybe we can open it up to other like-minded people in the other Alpharetta group. If you know anybody in the Alpharetta group, Agents of Truth, and we could invite them too. But if you're interested, just send me a text and say Bitcoin class in the text, so that I can kind of get just an idea of how many people, and then we'll go ahead and schedule it.
Yeah, and if we do,
and then he can tell us how to do that at that class.
We should bring our $25,000 then.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we need to probably do it pretty soon.
So $1.
Sounds like.
$1 right now. Are you looking at it? You're looking at exchange rate for $1.
Yes.
What are we around 3,000 sats? 4?
I don't know if this is true, but it says 0.000251.
See, real quick.
Reverse that.
One Satoshi in US dollars is point. Okay, so that's do it the other way around. So if you go in and buy, if you wanted to buy $1 worth of Bitcoin, that would be somewhere around 3,000 Satoshis, right? You guys also do the math, and you look at world population at about $8 billion, and you divide that by 21 million Bitcoin. The average is about 4,000 sats per for everybody on Earth. You can buy 3,000 for $1 right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Told you it was on sale.
45. Here's another fun one to kind of wrap your mind around. There's 45 million millionaires on Earth. Most of them will never own a Bitcoin. You can get one for $25,000 right now. You can also move your Roth IRAs into a Bitcoin Roth IRA and not take the tax for the 10% if you're not 59.5.
Is that like a self-directed
Yeah.
IRA?
How come you're not gonna
type
take that?
What's that?
Yeah.
Really?
Huh.
I mean,
Well, you know, the IRS has more lawyers working for them than accountants, right? So
Yeah.
it's not a matter of.
Shane,
Yes,
we
sir.
agree that Bitcoin is going to definitely head into a bull market. What about, just off the record, what's your opinion of where we're going to be after the halving? 2024, 100s?
There are people talking about going up to 100 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Speculative, I have no idea. And I don't do it. I think 40,000 is probably right around the corner.
Right.
And to give you some idea, like there's this magic number that Bitcoiners talk about, 6.15, right? 6.15 is generational wealth for the rest of your life. If you had 6.15 Bitcoin and you're in right now at $25,000, which is off the top of my head about $200,000-ish, maybe a little less. If you had that much, then go from $25,000 to $40,000, you know what you just did? Just doubled your money.
Oh, yeah.
From 20 to 40,000,
Oh, yeah.
25 to $40,000. Okay.
You could buy it.
Like I said, thank you guys for coming in. Thank you for all the questions.
I just want Shane to say his website if you guys want to write it down, or and I will put it on the signal. Everybody, please join. I should have sent out invitations to you on the signal.
Yeah.
You should have got those, so just go ahead and accept and join. If you didn't get it, let me know and I'll invite you again or whatever. But tell your website, please.
So if anybody has a phone and they want to scan that, they can. I'll take them right to the website.
I don't have
Yeah,
a phone.
The name of the website is my podcast website. It's Radical, RADICAL.
Oh, I saw it.
Pod, POD.com.
Radicalpod.com.
And it is under the Bitcoin Maximalist tab.
Great text.